Hey guys, my name is Kirsten. I am a junior here at Minnesota State University, Mankato. My major is elementary education. Woo! I'm from River Falls, Wisconsin originally, but now I live here in Mankato. The biggest thing that has made me decide to choose this major was just that I love working with kids, and I always have. Whether it's helping them tutor, with math or science or something like that, or it's just playing around, messing around, reading and stuff like that. I've just loved working with kids, and it makes me happy. One of the most rewarding things about this major is when you are working with kids and they're really struggling with something, and then they finally get it and it clicks and they're so excited because they finally understand it. And to me, that's the most rewarding part, and I love to see when that happens. Some of my goals, short term, are mostly to do well in school and to graduate. The College of Education has a GPA requirement of 3.0, so it's important that I stay on top of schoolwork to keep that GPA requirement up. And some of my more long-term goals are I eventually want to teach kindergarten or first grade in a suburban or rural school, so something a little bit smaller, not quite inner city schools for me. Some of the most difficult things about this major are that education is always changing, because the laws and the whole politics behind education are always changing. So you gotta kind of be on your toes and just be flexible and do what your teachers and professors say, and just be ready to change your assignments if they're like, okay, we're not doing it like this anymore. Just one of the things to keep in mind. And it is kind of confusing while they change it, because it doesn't just happen overnight, it takes a while, but it's still good. It usually takes people about 4 years. Sometimes 4.5 to 5, depending on how much credit load they take and how well they do in classes. The classes, most of them are gen eds to start with for your first 2 years. And as far as that goes, it's a broad array of classes. Like, you'll take science classes, you'll take history, you'll take art, you'll take math, you'll take everything. And as far as the studying and writing goes, obviously in your English classes you're going to have to write a lot more than you do in some of your other classes. Studying, it depends on what your strengths are. So for me, history was not one of my strengths, so I had to study a lot more in that class than I did in my others. But then after you finish your gen eds, you do the core support, which are some of the upper level, the 300 and 400 level classes. And they're more directed towards your major, so it's like teaching art, teaching gym, teaching science, that type of stuff. And then you get into blocks, which is the actual program, and that's where you're going to schools and do some of the student teaching and stuff like that. I never switched my major. Kind of like I said earlier, I've just always loved working with kids, and I just always knew I wanted to be a teacher. But there have been times when I've second-guessed myself, and those times have kind of been when I've had big projects or assignments due and I kind of procrastinate and haven't done so well on them, and I'm like, well, is this really what I want to do? But then when that happens, I usually just think about why I chose this in the first place and how much I like to work with kids, and that usually helps me remember. One of the things I did to see if elementary education was the right major for me is I did go into schools quite a bit and just observe in classrooms, help out teachers and stuff like that, because then I really got a feel for what a teaching job would look like and what I would be doing and what I was responsible for. I also went to the Career Development Center and talked to the people a little bit there, and they were the ones that suggested the job shadowing and going into schools to see. And they have a ton of resources there that can help you as well. The advice I have for if you're thinking about being in an education major is to really just get out in the schools and volunteer your time and observe or do some teaching or working with kids, and really see how you fit and see how the kids act and stuff like that, and if you like it and if you don't, because that's the best way you'll get an idea for it. And to also persevere. Sometimes it gets tough. Any major you choose will be tough, but just stick with it and it'll be good in the end.